Hello there, and welcome to This Podcast is a Spell. Today I'm giving you a clip from one of the opening trainings from The Great Money Keeper. It's how we're going to begin the course. And if you're interested, I'd love for you to join me. So, I am really bad with giraffes. I'm really bad with giraffes. I can't seem to get my act together with giraffes. I have bought all of the books that are published about becoming more magic with giraffes, of doing magical spells around giraffes. I have bought all of the practical courses about giraffes. And yet, no matter what I do, I just can't seem to crack it. I just don't have enough giraffes in my life. I have I've tried, it's but my mom and dad, they were really bad with giraffes. And I remember that once my uncle came over and he actually had a lot of giraffes. And um, everybody treated him like he was kind of a jerk. And so I think that I realized then that people who have a lot of giraffes are jerks. And they're selfish because they hoard all their giraffes. And so I think now there's a bit of me that just doesn't want to have a giraffe. And so I don't know what to do. I'm stuck, and I really want more because my life isn't what it could be with more giraffes. I'm not going to belabor this point anymore because I think you get it. I think sometimes when we have something that is so important to us, that is so tightly packed with history and with stories and with importance, if we can change the word into becoming something that doesn't have all of that, you can start to see the incredibly intensity of the story, of the levels of what's the word, meaning that we've made about all of these things, right? And so, because you don't go walking around saying, I'm bad with giraffes. I mean, you might. Some people say it about cats. I had to really think about an animal that hopefully less people, hardly anybody had had any negative experiences with. Um, and if you do have a negative experience with giraffes, I'm very sorry to have triggered you. But we don't say that about giraffes because we don't allow our connection with giraffes to determine our personal worth. There's no inherited moral system around giraffes. No one taught you how to be a good giraffe person, what a responsible giraffe person looks like. So if you didn't understand giraffes, you didn't think, oh, I'm a terrible, I suck, I can't be trusted, there's something wrong with me. You just think, I actually don't know very much about giraffes. And in today's world, I could say to you, in the next half an hour, go away, here's your homework, and give me everything that I need to know. Teach me everything I need to know about giraffes. And you could find so much. And and those of you who just Googled it would come back with, this is what giraffes are. Clear. Some of you are creative and you would come back with art about giraffes. You would come back with interesting facts about giraffes. You take it to AI. So all of our responses to giraffes in that moment would also be different. And that's it. That's the energy. But with money, when we talk about money, we attach identity, we attach morality, we attach our worth, we attach whether we can trust ourselves, we attach everything we've done in the past, we attach everything we've done and we will ever do in the future because we know that it's just going to be the same, even though we hope it won't be. We attach integrity, people who have it, people who don't, what you would do with it, what you wouldn't do with it. If I said to you, what would happen today if you won $75 million in the lottery? How many of you would have a concrete plan? How many of you know exactly what you would do? And how many of you are like, oh, how many of you would be afraid of it? How many of you would be intimidated by it? How many of you would be like, bring it on, girl, let's go? Because it's so much you can't even imagine it anyway. What if I said, here's 100 grand, put it in your bank account? How would you feel about it? Would you go off and Google it like you would giraffes and go, what am I going to do with 100 grand? La, 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 let's decide. Let's make some fun things. Let's learn some things. No, you would have meaning, you would have story, you would have intensity, you would have all kinds of stuff about money. So what does it mean to be bad with money? Let's just for this, because we're going to be in this course, we're going to be naughty. We are going to be irreverent. We are going to be silly. We are going to be ridiculous. We are going to be smart. We are going to be clever. We are going to be a bit, this is a romp. This is a romp. We're going to be a bit traditionally, what people might say, bad, not bad with money, just bad in that we're not following the rules. So let's talk about bad. Let's reclaim bad a little bit. And let's go straight into one of my passions, which is word magic. For the duration, for forever, I want you to delete the word bad at anything unless it actually follows this definition. The root of bad, I'm reading this now, is Old English badel, Baeddel, badel. I don't know how to say it. And that word in Old English meant defective, inferior, or morally wrong. Defective, inferior, or morally wrong. And so when you talk about yourself with money, instead of believing that you're just untrained or just unfamiliar, or you're just playing with the wrong rules to the wrong game or you just are learning, what you're saying is, when you say I'm bad with money, you're actually saying I am defective in this area of my life. I am inferior in this area of my life. I am morally wrong in this area of my life. And when you give yourself that kind of energy around anything, does it ever make you want to show up and sort it out? Ever? Never. When you scold a child and tell them that they are bad, what is their reaction? Is their reaction, oh, okay, you're right. I'm just going to go over here and do something better? No. They cry, or they pull back, or they react in some way that closes them down or defends them. They don't say, oh, bad. Okay, I'll just choose good. Never. And you are no different. When you say that you are bad, all you're doing is creating a loop that is making you more defensive, more intensely reactive to whatever it is that you're doing. So we're going to look at money. I'm going to read this again. The word money comes from moneta, which was the place in ancient Rome where coins were made. And there's a goddess called Juno Moneta, who's the goddess of coinage and money. But moneta was literally just a system of exchange. It was, and all money's not even real. Money used to be, people carried around coins and methods of exchange for centuries. And then it got too hard or too dangerous with highwaymen on the road and all of that sort of thing to carry all your money around with you. And so what they started doing was carrying a promissory note. And the promissory note was, I promise to pay you this much because I have this much gold somewhere else. And so for a long time, the notes that we carry were just promises to pay the amount of gold in the bank. And so they were notes of promise. Coins were often real, but even coins now, if you think about it, coins aren't worth anything compared to what they are supposedly worth. A nickel is not worth 5 pieces of gold or 5 bits of gold, right? And then they abolished the gold standard, which means that banks no longer had to have, countries no longer needed to have the amount of gold in the bank that would cover all of the promissory notes in circulation. And so now when a country needs money, they just go on the computer and make some more. The international bank, the central bank, isn't a central bank of magic. It is owned by humans. There's a family at the back of the central bank. And so money is literally a system of exchange. It is literally not even real. It is made up. It is a made up system that we have agreed to. It is not morality. It is not your worth. It's not any worth. It isn't worth anything in the 3 dimensions as far as what the piece of paper is, whatever we deem it to be worthy, whatever we agree it is worth. It is not your identity. It is just an exchange. And so now we have this interesting thing. We've taken something neutral, a system, a tool, a method of exchange between 2 humans, and we combined it with a word that means defective, wrong, not good enough. And we've turned it into, I am wrong, morally inferior when it comes to this neutral system. So this is money magic right here. And so we tack on things like, because money, I get that it's a real thing. I get that you need it to live, to eat, to exchange. This is the system that we are living in. And it's not like I'm going to try to get you to be a fish that lives on land. We are not eschewing money. We are actually going to start playing deeply with it. We are actually going to start wondering about it. What we're going to question are the rules that we live in about money. Rules like, be responsible, don't want too much, don't be greedy, work hard, don't mess it up. If I work harder, more will come. Because most of those rules aren't even about money. They're about our behavior. So if the rules are about our behavior, how are they bringing us money? A system of exchange. And so when you put behavior with money, what you've got is a test. What you've got is a test. It's not neutral anymore. You don't have a neutral system. You don't have a set of rules that we can all follow. What you've got is a test. If you are not doing enough, that's why you don't have enough money. And when you don't pass the test, when you don't have a lot of money, when you don't feel neutral about money, you don't think, well, maybe the test is wrong, or maybe I'm using the wrong rules, or maybe I'm using the wrong pen. You think, I've done something wrong. I'm bad. I'm not good enough for this. And that is something that we are going to shift in this course. That is where we're going. I hope you enjoyed that little clip of the video from The Great Money Keeper, or that recording from The Great Money Keeper. There is so much more in this course. This is about, I said it in the call, this is about not being lazy with our word magic anymore. One of the word magics is I'm bad with money. And there's so much better, so many better things to say than that. There's so much, let's not tie morality and inferiority with money anymore. So if that enticed you at all, come and join me in The Great Money Keeper. We start on the 1st of May, but if you're listening to this later, come anyway. Come anyway. I am I'm excited to start changing the world with you. My tarot card for one of my tarot cards for this year, I can't remember what the number was, and 10 of Cups, I think. And it's about community money. It's about us all getting wealthy. So let's do that. Come join me. The link is below. And if you're listening to this after the course is live, check the link below because this is for everybody. This is for all time. This is for everyone. This is really important. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is.